John chapter 6, verses 38 to 40. I have come down from heaven, not to do my own will, but the will of him who sent me. And this is the will of him who sent me, that I should lose nothing of all that he has given me, but raise it up on the last day. For this is the will of my Father, that everyone who looks on the Son and believes in him should have eternal life, and I will raise him up on the last day. What will you be doing on the world's last day? An interesting question. Some of us interpret this according to an idea of limited time. We think about how we would act if suddenly we were to become aware that our time is finite. All that we would immediately stop doing and start doing. Maybe to you this is a freeing question. Contemplating an end can lead to a radical posture of freedom and clarifying of our time and how we are spending it. We waste time when we see how the time isn't clear. The really difficult task in our lives is to see the importance of our time clearly. Maybe to some, this is a question that feels very far away. We aren't sure if an end is really coming. It feels at times like this whole show might just go on indefinitely the way that it maybe always has. And even if there is an end in store, it's so far in the future that it certainly doesn't impact my present. The fact is, our world will have a last day. This is difficult for us to imagine. So much of the stability of our daily lives is built on the implicit assumption that there will be a tomorrow. If we were to suddenly be overwhelmed by a pressing feeling that this world will one day end, and that the world's last day could come at any moment, we would begin to live quite differently. This world will have a last day. Modern science guesses that this planetary world will end in the next 5 billion years or so, at which time our sun will begin to burn out. Actually, it will enter into a phase of star death where it will get really big first. So before it burns out, it will get so big and so hot that it'll just roast our solar system, just totally incinerate it. And then it will be in another about 2 billion years of star death before it then finally burns out. On the one hand, this time frame feels very comforting because 5 billion years feels very far away. And to humans whose lifespan is around 100 years, sure, 1,825 billion days is relatively far away. We should note that the comfort provided by chronological distance is not, however, a particularly virtuous comfort. We, like King Hezekiah, are okay with contemplating destruction, just so long as it does not happen in our days. At the same time, the raw fact that our material world will have an end at all, no matter how many turned calendar pages in the future, should cause some significant disquiet. What does it say about our world that it has the capability to simply pass out of existence? and not just the capability, but that its final extinguishment is in inevitability. There are some things in life that we expect to be passing, like your favorite hole-in-the-wall restaurant. Yeah, whisper it. Whisper the name. White Maze. You love the cheap food and the sense of discovery, and it feels adventurous to eat somewhere that has a C proudly hanging in the window. But you already fully expect to go there one day and see some handwritten sign on the door that says something about Department of Health and fumigated and until further notice. But that's the beauty of it. It's ephemeral. Here today, gone tomorrow. Much of the material world is like this, and it causes little fuss. Jobs run their course. Houses deteriorate. Plants wither. It's the nature of things. And the fact that these things have a last day does not hinder us from finding them valuable, to be pursued and sought out and cared for. People apply this sensibility today to the whole of life. There is a feeling that our lives in total should maybe be like this. Meaningful because they end. Valuable because they are ephemeral. I recently watched a video where college students at an elite university were asked if they wanted to live forever. Every student interviewed said no. Their answers all amounted to a line from a pop song: I don't want a never-ending life. I just want to be alive while I'm here. The issue is that there are other things in life that we feel very strongly should not have a last day. Not at all. The things in life that make us feel alive, spiritual things, love, joy, belonging, meaning, these things should not have a last day. And if we knew ahead of time that they would have a last day, it would undermine the very pursuit of the thing in the first place. Take love, for example. We all share a strange instinct that tells us that love, true love, is forever. That love does not and should not have a last day. It would be strange and in some ways disturbing if we went to a wedding and the vows taken said something like, in the good times and the better times, for richer or even richer, for as long as my love may happen to last, which will probably be a period of time amounting to somewhere between 10,000 and 30,000 days. This wouldn't just be ludicrous to hear, it would let us know that love wasn't really present, because true love doesn't have a last day. Or think perhaps about what a home is. A home is a place where you always belong. There is no last day of belonging in a home. You always belong. If you knew beforehand that you would only belong for so long, then that place wouldn't actually be a home at all. A true home doesn't have a last day. And this, then, is the problem. if we know that our world will have a last day, then is there actually really anything of value here? If all living things will have a last day, then is anything actually alive here? If we know that truth will have a last day, is truth really here? If we know that courage will have a last day, is courage really here? If we know that in this world all loves will have a last day, is love really here? If we know that one day this world will kick us out, that we won't be welcome here anymore, is this world really our home? This world will have a last day, and on that day it will take everything down with it, including life. And if you want to be alive while you're here, you just might need to figure out how to save life from its last day. Otherwise, of everything it will be said, and there will be morning, and there will be evening, the last day. I read that people who get to Times Square super early to save their spots for the New Year's Eve festivities wear adult diapers so that they don't have to risk losing their spots by taking a bathroom break. Anyone want to go get a spot? Has anyone ever been to Times Square for New Year's Eve? No. Not like you got a hotel room with a good view. That doesn't count. Not like you got a hotel room and got to overlook it, but down on the ground in the crowd. Anyone? Jeff Klein, baby! Times Square! Absolutely. You don't have to answer that question, Jeff. Of course, it is just about the last place that most New Yorkers would ever want to be, trapped in a sea of tens of thousands of people in Times Square. But have you ever wondered, why are all those people there? Like, really ask the question, why are they there? Obviously, there's a spectacle. It's generally a holiday, sure. Those are part of it. But those people in Times Square aren't just celebrating the new year. If that's all they were doing, they wouldn't be standing outside, gathered in the cold for hours. That they aren't just celebrating. They could do that anywhere. They are waiting for the new year to arrive. You can celebrate the new year anywhere, but you can only welcome its particular arrival in our culture at Times Square. They're gathered there because we have collectively decided that the new year arrives in Times Square, symbolized by a ball descending from the sky. And when the ball comes down from above, a new year is raised up. This year's last day gives way to a new first day. And it is evening, and then it's morning, a new day. And this is much closer to the truth than we often realize. Because all those faces looking up, hoping to catch a glimpse of the arrival of a new year, is a sign of a spiritual truth. That together our hope is found in the promised arrival of a new day, a new time, a new world. That we will witness together a great arrival, the descending from above of a totally new order of things, where time is overtaken by eternity, and life and love and all their friends never have a last day again. Only, here's the thing. Jesus says that the ball has already begun to drop, that the last day of this world is already underway. Jesus says, I have come down from heaven. A light has already descended from above, shining into the world, and all who see it and receive it now await together the arrival of the new day that God is raising up. And so the world's last day has already begun. So, what will you be doing on the world's last day? The truth is, you'll find yourself doing whatever it is that you're doing right now. And so whatever you are ultimately pursuing right now, whatever has your attention right now, whatever you are ultimately and fully and finally doing right now, that's what you will be found doing on the world's last day. The reality is that very few people have paid attention to the spiritual light that is descending from heaven in Jesus. A very great spiritual light has shone in the coming of God's Son. No one has done more than Jesus to help the world understand what is good and true and beautiful. And so most people are spending the world's last day living in a way that is not consistent with the time. It doesn't see our time clearly. But you could live differently. You could believe that a light has come down from heaven. You could see him and receive him in faith. And that faith would, today, right now, give you power to rise up and fight against all the last days that the world tries to throw at you. Like the last day of your courage, and the last day of your honesty, and the last day of your love, and the last day of your life. And that same faith would, when we all come to the end, give you power to spend the world's last day rising up into God's great tomorrow. God has purposed that the world's last day is actually a great beginning. A beginning that itself has its start with faith in God's Son now. God has simply asked that we wait for it, full of faith. And if thousands of people can wait for hours in the streets for a dead metal ball to descend down a pole, then we can practice an at least equivalent waiting for the glorious Son of God to finish his descent and come down from heaven a last time. The waiting that God has asked us to undertake is much more pleasant. He even allows us to take bathroom breaks. Amen.